Hey guys, what is up? This is Matthew Davis, me once again. Welcome back to another movie review. aka after I saw this time is going to be on Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. After 15 years, Indiana Jones is back on the big screen, and in this film we follow him as he's coming out of retirement. He has to go on an adventure to retrieve a legendary artifact that can change the course of history. So of course, like I mentioned before, it's been 15 years since the last Indiana Jones film. We thought that would be the end of it, but apparently they decided to make another film, and people instantly criticized it before it was even released. I mean, with Lucasfilm not having the best track record or reputation throughout modern time, I mean, with the Star Wars sequel trilogy and all that, but I generally did have quite a bit of hope for this one, mainly due to the fact that James Mangold would be directing the film, and I think he's an incredible director with films like Logan, Ford v Ferrari, which was nominated for multiple Oscars. I had a feeling that this might actually make up for the disastrous Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And it kind of did, but ultimately I was kind of let down by this one. Now, look, this is not a bad film, in my opinion, okay? I do not think that this is a new disaster film that is just completely butchers the entire franchise. I do generally think there is some enjoyment to be had in the film. It's just not as memorable as those first three movies. Now, look, even though I didn't like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, I do feel like there were a couple things that did work about it. I think Harrison Ford is great in all the movies, but, you know, the last movie, they made a lot of really stupid decisions. And while there are like a couple of decisions in here that I feel like didn't work either, of course, when it comes to new Indiana Jones, people immediately say that, well, Harrison Ford shouldn't be in this because he should just be replaced because of how old he's gotten. Now, they do DH his makeup a bit, and it is pretty noticeable, but he's still great in the film, and he never really acts like he still has energy in him. He does generally do act like he's starting to age. He didn't feel like he was starting to age in the last film, so yeah, throughout the years, he definitely does feel like he has been aging a bit. So yeah, despite him going on this journey, he does generally do get hurt, and he does feel the pain, so that's one thing I will say. Also, I thought Mads Mikkelsen was great as the bad guy, and I thought he was a much better bad guy than whatever Cate Blanchett was trying to do in the last film. And it's a really nice looking film, despite the, you know, CGI makeup effects. It definitely does look and play out like a real adventurous setting, and James Mangold really did a great job directing it. Even though there really wasn't necessarily a time where there's going to be a moment that's going to be like one of the most memorable Indiana Jones moments in the history of cinema, as there really wasn't necessarily a time where I feel like the movie was as exciting as it could be. That's my biggest problem with the whole thing, is that it's just not nearly as exciting as it should be, because the first three films, they were super exciting, and they never seemed to drag on. Like, there was always adventure, there was always story, there was always good characters to show. Right here, I mean, okay, now look. The first 20 minutes were great. They were fantastic, and they were easily the best part, and unfortunately, it doesn't entirely get better after that, as it does tend to slow down, and when it does come to the action, while it is good, some of it just definitely reminds you of the previous installments and what made them so good to begin with. It doesn't necessarily feel like a film that changes the formula whatsoever. And yes, I do feel like the movie is too long, where each of the installments, the previous installments, each one of them was like from a little over 2 hours to a little under 2 hours. This one's 2.5 hours. I really don't understand why it's normal for movies to just be over 2.5 hours long. I definitely do feel like there was some stuff that should have definitely been cut out of this one. But needless to say, this isn't a film that I feel like is just 100% flawed, that there's just absolutely nothing to enjoy about this movie. I do like the action, most of it anyway, and I do think it's a nice looking film. It's just there really wasn't necessarily a time where I feel like it just changes the formula to make it absolutely memorable. Performances might be great and all, and the movie might be nice looking, but it just doesn't really necessarily feel like it's doing a whole lot to, change the formula. But needless to say, I did not think this movie was bad. I mean, sure, people are going to see the film and they're just going to say, oh, it's the worst thing ever since the Star Wars sequel trilogy. But there is stuff that I feel like can be enjoyed about the film in terms of the direction, in terms of the performances. This is not like a movie that easily earns an F grade. This is not like a 0 out of 10 or anything like that. It's just a film that does try to like bring back Indiana Jones for one last adventure, but all in all, I don't really feel like there is a whole lot that this movie necessarily does in terms of bringing Indiana Jones back on a new, like, groundbreaking adventure that people will remember for years to come. It's not nearly as good as the first three movies, though I do feel like it does do things better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. It's not necessarily a bad film. I do think it's a disappointing one, but not everything about it was bad. I mean, it has great performances, it has some pretty good characters, it has a good villain. It's just not really the type of film that really does anything to change the formula in terms of the action or anything like that, as it is vaguely familiar, but nonetheless, this is not a terrible film. I definitely do see this as becoming a new disaster, like for everyone. Like, I can definitely see people making videos on this, why this movie is a complete disaster, why this movie failed and all that. I actually wouldn't be surprised if this movie didn't make nearly as much as they expected, but bottom line is it really isn't that bad. I recommend just watching the film before judging it. You don't even have to see it in theater. Just wait till it comes out on streaming, and yeah. It might not be nearly everything I was hoping for, but generally I can say that it was what it was. It could have honestly been far worse, but it really wasn't. It's just fine for what it is. It's a fine adventure that just could have been so much more, but it's not bad. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Word out.